Hello everyone and welcome to another scrapbook layout process video. Today I'm going to embrace all things magical and I'm going to do some colouring with some shimmer brushes, also with some inks, and I'm using the Storybook pattern paper. I'll show you quickly what the actual paper pack looks like. There is a graphic style design and there is this arrow paper and a heart paper. It's a little bit subtle to see on camera, but it's got the gorgeous undertones there that would go with any of these sticker collections, the stripe and the star pattern paper. And I'm going to be using the stamp sets as well. I've got the card making stamp and the scrapbooking stamp because I love the castle, I love the dragon, and I really love this rainbow as well. So these are basically the stamped images that I'm going to be working with today. So I'm just going to put these things aside for now and I'm going to do my colouring. The first thing I'm going to show you is the rainbow. So I'm doing a little bit of a rainbow order but with a little bit of a variation because I am using the shimmer brushes that I have on hand. So the first colour I'm coming in with is peach, and the shimmer brushes actually colour beautifully, and of course they leave a gorgeous shine to your artwork. So I'll just show you on this one. I'm just going around with the peach and colouring that in. I love the texture that a shimmer brush gives as well, and it's a little bit softer than using an alcohol marker. Then I'm going to come in with the lemonade, and then I'm going to do the Seabrook, and then I run out of the colours that I want to use, so I'm going to show you how I get around that. So this is peach, lemonade and Seabrook. The next two colours I want to use are glacier and periwinkle, and I don't actually own those shimmer brushes. So all I'm going to do is smoosh a bit of the ink down onto my all-purpose mat. I could also press the lid into the stamp pad and pick it up from here. But I'm just going to get my clear shimmer brush, pick this up and paint with the glacier ink, and you still get the shimmer and the sparkle. And this is a good go-to method if you haven't got the shimmer brushes. I know I need to order some. So now I'm just going to wipe my shimmer brush off, and then I'm going to come in with my periwinkle ink and do exactly the same thing. Just pick that up and spread that along to finish off the rest of this rainbow. And then for the bottom of the clouds, I'm just going to use linen ink, do exactly the same thing, smoosh that down onto my all-purpose mat, pick it up, and I'm just going to add a little bit of colour to the bottom edge of these clouds and then bring the sparkle up somewhat. The thing that you want to bear in mind when you're using this method to colour, it is a wet medium, so make sure that you stamp with intense black or a VersaFine Onyx black. So you don't want to use our regular black ink because that will smudge because you're adding a wet medium to it. Now I'm going to move on to the castle. And this is some very quick colouring. I'm not going to colour in the whole entire castle. I'm just using my mist shimmer brush and I'm just bringing in some colour along the edges of the turrets. I'm working my way down, and then where the brickwork is and where I think some shadows might be as well. So this is a very simple, quick way to add a little bit of shading, and you can see there are little dots in the detail of this stamp, so that helps you with where to place the shading. And as I said, I'm just going over those little dots, some little stripes where the doors are, a little bit of a loose wash over where the bricks are. I'm not trying to be perfect with this colouring, I just wanted to give a bit of depth and a bit of interest. And then when it comes to this door, I am just going, or the entrance to the castle, I'm just going over the areas like that, but leaving a little bit of white. So that's as quick as it gets for colouring in. And for the pennants, I'm bringing in Seabrook. And that's all the colouring I need to do for the castle. So these two are relatively quick. With the dragon, even though I do have a mist shimmer brush, I want to give some light and shade to this. If you just use the shimmer brush as is, you would have to blend that out with some water or use your clear shimmer brush and try and drag that out. But what I found to be easier is to just use some mist ink on my all-purpose mat, and then I'm just going to mix this through. I'm actually going to give a tiny bit of a squeeze to this as well, so that I get some more shimmer coming out, and you can see that's added quite a bit. And then I'm going to go along where the little dots and the shaded areas are and just add some detail to these elements with the depth of colour that I've got there at the moment, and just on his scales. And also in the crooks of his arms. You really can't go wrong with doing this sort of colouring. It's totally up to you what you would like to do with that. And the more I pick up, the more depth I'm going to get with what I have mixed up here on my all-purpose mat. So I'm going to go and put a little heavier concentration of colour down these wing elements here. And then I'm also going to pick up the colour and just do a little dab where these little elements are, going down his back and along his tail. So now that I've done that, I'm going to water this down just a little bit and mix some more. And I'm going to get a piece of scratch white paper because I want to blend this out quite a bit. So see how that is just a little bit lighter with what I'm dragging off to the side here. And then I'm going to come in and do some more painting and bring in a little bit more colour as it moves up the dragon and around his arm, along here as well. And that's just enough to add a little bit more shimmer and shine. Because let's face it, dragons are a little bit sparkly. And that's all I need to do. Where I think I need to add some more, I can just go back in with my shimmer brush. And the main body for him is done. And then to replicate the colour on this side with the Seabrook, I'm going to add a little bit of definition to his belly here. Now I'm only going to paint every alternate stripe here, and I'm not going all the way across. I want to leave a little bit of a highlight there just to give the impression of more roundness where his belly is. So now I'm going to set these aside to dry, and then I'll move on to the base pages. So I've moved everything over, and I'm just going to bring in my page layout. This is roughly what I'm doing, and it's going to mirror all the way across to the other side. And I've cut 2-inch strips, 2x6-inch strips of the pattern paper, and I've also used Seabrook, honey butter and mist. And what I've done for the pattern is drag it through my black ink pad. So you've seen me do this many times. I just drag it through like that to give a little bit of ink stressing, and I've done that on the pattern paper as well. But when I was looking at this, quite often I just do a dry fit to see how I like things and if I think it's going to work. So my castle is going to go up here. These are all going to line up and match. And then my rainbow here, and I've decided that I need to put something up in this section. So I had a bit of a play around. I tried a stencil to put that there, and that was a bit too heavy. Then I tried doing a stencil with a bit of a lighter colour, and I wasn't quite satisfied with that either. So then I got out my shimmer brushes and some black ink, and I splattered those around, and I quite like the look of that, but the black is too heavy. So I got some copy paper, and had a bit of a play, and I've decided that just this little splatter here with lemonade in mist is going to work for me. So my castle is going to go up on the right hand side, my dragon is going to go on the other side because this is a double page layout. So I'm going to do those splatters there, and I've also got a title that will be going across. So I'm going to put some splatters behind the title as well so that everything is cohesive. All right, so there's my splatter box all set up, ready to go. I'm going to bring in my mist shimmer brush and my lemonade one. And I'll just move everything along a bit so that you can see what I'm doing, because I want to make sure that I get everything on camera. I'm going to make a little puddle off to the side with my mist shimmer brush, and I'm also going to do the same thing with my lemonade. Now, the darker ones do tend to come out a lot quicker, so just have a little play with that and brush it onto the all-purpose mat before you start squeezing. Right, so that's all that I need. So then what I do is I just pick this up, and then I'm going to go into my splatter box. And the more that you have on the brush, the bigger the blobs will come out. You could also pick this up with a paintbrush as well if you wanted to. So that's all I need for that side there. And then I'm going to come in with the lemonade, and I find that the yellow really brightens everything up. So remember that the castle and the rainbow are going to sit on this side, so I'm just bringing that out a little bit, and then the main body of my papers are going across the middle. So now I'm going to do this in the top left and the bottom left as well. So I'm going in with the mist first. And this is where my title is going. So I'm putting that all around where that's going to land when I put my pages together. And then also do exactly the same thing with the lemonade. And that's it for the preparation on the base pages. So I'll just bring that under the camera so you can see a bit better. I hope I got everything on there. On the right page, I've got it all up in the top right corner. Some of it's gone down at the bottom there, but that's okay. And then in the top left and the bottom left of the left page. So, and then I'll be back to put all the page together once this is dried off a little bit. I've placed everything out and dry fitted it just so that you could have a look at the placements. Before I put these photo holders down, I wanted to show you what I've created with the pattern paper. So basically it is this one pattern paper that I've cut in half and cut into 2-inch strips, and I've used both sides of it. And as I said earlier, I did ink the edges in black ink, and putting the mist, the honey butter, Seabrook in between, I think makes a really cool pattern for this. And you can still see quite a lot of the pattern paper with these photo placeholders over top. I've cut a title with my Cricut. So this font is available if you have Cricut Access. I'll put what the name of it is down below. I can't actually remember what it is. But the cool thing about using a stencil font is that you don't have to keep all the little tiny pieces of the insides of the A's and the dots of the I's and all those sorts of things. So a stencil font is quite cool to use. And then you can see I've matted it on black. So I've put a white layer behind the stencil, and then I've got the black there. So these letters aren't individually adhered, they're cut out of the actual colours, which I've replicated from what I've used across here. So I'm looking at this to see what else I'd like to add, and I'm thinking about a journal box. Now, you could make any of these photo holders a journal box, but I thought that it would be fun to bring in the thin cuts that are for the envelope flap. So these ones are for the 4.5 by 5.5 envelope flaps. We do have 5 by 7 envelopes now, so we have thin cuts for these as well. And you can see they are stitched, both of them are stitched, and they have one that fits the exact size of the flap of our envelopes, and then one that goes on the inside of that piece as well. So you can double layer them out. but I thought it might be fun to use one as a text box or a journal box. So I've cut the inside section in white, the outside section in honey butter, and then I just trimmed it off. And I think that makes a really cool element at the bottom of this layout here to have some journaling in. So have a look at your thin cuts, the envelope flaps. I think they're going to be a great addition to scrapbooking, not just for finishing off the outside of the envelopes. And while I was thinking about all of this, I know that this dragon has a place to sit here with the splatters, but I still feel like he's floating a little bit. And because I've used a 6-inch strip of this, and I really don't want to cut up another piece of that, normally I would cut a little strip and then I could have him sitting on that. And I looked at the zip strip to have him sitting on a zip strip coming out here. But this melon colour here, even though it's in with these stripes going across here and some of the stars, I just felt like it wasn't quite the right finishing touch. So what I'm going to do is just move these photo placeholders around a little bit. I'm going to bring him down so that he is on the edge of the bottom part of this black glitter strip and put him in between the photos, and I think that's a good spot for him to land there. And to add some more embellishments, I've brought in the little stitched star that we have. These can be used for a shaker card, but they're also fun to put onto pages as well. Now I have gone ahead and I've already inked up some of these, so I'm just going to randomly place these around. I've got a honey butter one that I think I might put up here with another maybe mist, or I might bring in the Seabrook up here. The mist looks a little bit heavy for that section. So to ink these up, I just got my sponge dauber. There's enough black ink left on here from what I was doing earlier, and I've just gently gone around the edges of the star, and then that ties in with these strips of paper that I've got for my background here. So I'm just going to finish that off. And I'm going to adhere this down and call it done. Maybe I'll add another star. Sometimes when I start saying, oh, maybe it needs something else, it's time for me to step away and have a bit of a look at it. But I really think another star might work here because I've got 1, 2, 3. If I don't have that one, that's an even number, and I do like having things in odd numbers. So I am going to put that one there. And then I'm going to go through my stash of dots to sprinkle some of those around as well. So everything is adhered down. You can see that there's some sparkle and shine. I hope the camera is picking that up. I don't know that it is. It's a bit hard to pick up the shimmer brush sometimes. I'm loving how this is looking, and I really love these dot elements that are on these papers. And I'm just thinking these ones at the top here look like they need something. So on these 2 strips here, we're only getting the little dot prints on the bottom section. So I thought I could come in with my black Le Pen and just draw a few little dots just to replicate the pattern below and tie things in a little bit more. I do love this feature with this. So I just have to make sure that I make some a little bit larger, make sure that they look like they are supposed to be there, and not worry too much if I don't get it exactly perfect. But I think that that just brings in this little fun element that we've got going on with these ones. So I was holding my breath a little bit while I was doing that because I know that I can't get this to match absolutely perfectly, but I quite like having the little dot features on this section at the top here as well as along the bottom. You can see I've put some silver glitter gems around, just around the clusters on the top left, top right, and down on these star elements here. And I'm going to call this layout done. I love the sparkle and shine that I've got from the shimmer brush elements, and that sort of replicates with this paper pack because there are little dots and things all featured throughout there, and I think that finishes it off quite nicely. It's so much fun to put these whimsical storybook elements onto a layout. I love this little dragon here. You could actually put a little heart in here as well. Oh, and I do have something else to show you from this collection. I have used used the stamped elements that I've used from the Storybook collection, and I have created some cards with matching envelopes. So this is what the envelope flap looks like, the thin cut. I haven't done the big outside piece, I've just done the inside piece. The outside section actually fits perfectly, as I said before, to the back flap of an envelope, but I quite like just that panel there, and that matches in with this heart paper. This paper is from It's the Little Things, and it's so fun. It's 6x6 paper, and I think it worked really well with this collection. I was on weekend retreat, and Brooke, who's one of my dear friends, she put a little heart on there for a Valentine's card for her son, and I thought it was such a cute idea that I had to do it too for this card. And I've also got the rainbow card here, and the flap that matches as well. Now these are peekaboo cards, so when you open it up, the dragon is on the inside and he's got a little leftover strip of this pattern paper to sit on. I'll have a list to everything below in the description, so if you want to check anything out you can find it there. The castle, the way that I've done that is I've cut the circle, so this is a 2.5-inch circle. I've cut the circle out while the paper has been attached, and I've got the card that with the leftover pieces to show you in just a moment. So I've adhered the castle on the inside of the card here, and then on the outside of the card at the top. And on the inside of this one you will have noticed a little strip going across the bottom. And for the rainbow card I've got some mist shimmer trim on the edges rather than the black shimmer trim. I thought that added a nice bit of difference, and another little strip from leftovers. So of course when I cut these two circles out, I cut my 2.5-inch circle while the paper was attached. I only put adhesive on the top and the bottom areas here, so that when I cut this through I would end up with two circles. And I was sitting there fiddling around with it, and I thought, why not cut from the circles more rings from them. Now the circle thin cuts, this is the same size as the envelope, so then all I did was lay the remaining ones here. I didn't use a 3-inch one, and I lined all of these up and adhered them with some tape, and then put them over top of this circle and cut it out. And same with this one, I put it over top of this pattern piece of paper circle and cut those out, and I was left with all these rings which I adhered, alternating the pattern onto the full white circle from the card base. And then I cut them in half, and then I couldn't work out what to do with them. I was working on planning out these cards at that weekend retreat, so once I had these elements all adhered, they were complete circles, and I chopped them in half. And then I was sitting there, it was getting quite late at night, and I was trying to organize the circles so that they went onto a card in some sort of fashion, with cutting them in half like that and trying to have them so that they would come down the card. And I was messing around with them for ages, and it got quite late, so I just left them out, and the girls were looking at them in the morning when they got up. And I gave this to Tracy McWaters, who is my upline, and said to her, I really don't know what to do with these half circles. So she sat there and played around with them and put them in a configuration like this, which I think works quite well on this card, with a little heart in the middle. And then of course I've backed it in black, and there's the black shimmer trim as well. I'll just bring the layouts back in again so you can have another little look at those before I go. I hope you enjoyed watching me put this together, and with the design elements with the splatters and bringing in the stitched heart as well. I think that works really, really well. And then using that envelope flap as an element on a scrapbook page. I think I'll be doing this more and more. I can see that this will tuck in, and having the little stitched elements as well just adds a lovely feature to it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Happy crafting, and bye for now.